Welcome to the Tristan Show. I'm Tristan.
And I'm Sabrina.
And we are very, very stoked to be here with you today because we're going to be diving into the mystical movements of Qigong. That word mystical is so woo.
Well, what about the word Qigong? It's pretty woo too.
Yeah, but we're going to unpack it all. So we have been lovers of this art for decades now because back in the year 2000, I had a back injury. One night I was teaching a self-defense workshop in my martial arts school. Big dojo here in Austin, Texas, teaching a lot of hardcore, real-world self-defense fighting. Body would take a beating all the time, doing all kinds of Gracie, jiu-jitsu, rocking and rolling, and my body just was racked. And I remember this one day, you just keep going, you know, when you like built to serve and you just want to teach people how to protect themselves, you push through the pain. And I stopped listening to my body. And I did this knee-elbow combination as a demonstration to this group of ladies doing a self-defense workshop. And I don't know what happened, but as I put my leg down on the ground, something in my back just went like this sharp shooting pain right up my spine and then down my leg. Like it was on the left side, into the spine, down the leg, and I just collapsed on the floor. And I've been punched, kicked, if anybody know my story, choked, thrown, you name it, I'd always get back up. But I couldn't get back up off the floor. In fact, they carried me out of my dojo that night. So this was, like I said, back in the year 2000. So we're going on a healing journey now, trying to figure out what's going on. Why is it the bones are out of place? Is there a pinched nerve? Is there a disc thing? Like, what is it? And nobody can figure it out. And then I finally get MRIs, x-rays, and all this stuff. I go to these doctors and they freaked out of me. And they said that, you know, I had this degeneration in my spine, I had disease in my spine, I had a piece of one of my...
Never teach again.
Couldn't teach anymore. Part of one of my vertebrae was missing, like actually had a hole in it. Like it was really scary. And so if you've ever heard of the placebo effect, where you believe something to be truer than true, your body will respond to it. Your brain's a pharmacopoeia. It'll start to produce all kinds of chemicals and your body can heal itself. Well, the opposite is also true. It's the nocebo. And you may have heard this saying, a diagnosis can be worse than the disease. The things that the people told me, the things that I believe to be true, especially because of the visual and the authority.
They had the proof, the evidence.
My brain attacked my body. And it wasn't long before I could barely walk at all. I was in crippling pain all the time. And thank God for Sabrina, because I've known Sabrina for decades, and she always knew me as the athlete. I danced with her. I mean, I used to lift her up over my head, do all this cool stuff, you know, and now she sees this guy who's just like crippled. I can't even get from my car into the swimming pool to do like my therapy exercises. So Sabrina really stepped in.
And Sabrina, me, who is kind of like a cat around water, like not my thing. I had to learn his physical therapy exercises after his big surgery that actually was a failed surgery. I had to get in the water and learn all the therapy because he wasn't strong enough. So that was fun.
It's true. You had to do, like on the float, you had to do all the leg moves and the flutter moves.
So we were flirting then, and so we decided the best therapy was if Tristan could carry me and walk from one end of the pool to the other.
I thought that was a great idea. I created that therapy technique. I highly recommend it. The reason she had to learn all this stuff is because after the surgery, I had to fly back. We were living here in Austin. I had to fly back to LA to learn this physical therapy stuff.
For your checkup.
But I couldn't get in the pool even then and do it because I felt so worse after the surgery. So she had to learn it all.
You couldn't get down in the water.
No. Okay, so...
Do you kind of owe me?
I owe you a lot, man. I owe you for the rest of my life, and that's the truth. She's my angel. She's the reason that we do what we do. And I almost said, I'm out of here. I peace upped. Conversation in my head, like, I think I'm done. Because it was like 3 years in, and I remember one day on my floor in my funny story segue before the trauma story, Sabrina was my landlady. So I married my landlady. I was renting one of her homes. She had multiple homes here in Austin. So
a few friends, we got together and bought a few houses and rented a couple.
Anyway, I was in my landlady's house, who's now my wife. I'm crawling on the floor, guys, from my bed to the toilet. And I couldn't get across and onto the toilet because I was just in so much pain. That's the night that all this stuff happened that changed everything. That was the night that I thought about ending my life because I was done. It was 3 years. I was losing my identity, losing my students, losing my dojo. I was broke and broken. And I thought about, well, how would you do it? And it freaked me out because I've always been like super strong and I could always overcome everything. And I'm feeling so helpless and like such a burden. I heard my karate teacher's voice. Mr. B, I love you so much. He was such a powerful, strong sensei. And he was a Chuck Norris 3-time international champion with Chuck. And he would yell at us. You show me a quitter, I'll show you a loser. He made us so tough. We would line up full military style, stocked, ready to rock. And he taught us discipline and respect. He wasn't a meditator. He wasn't into Qigong, but he did have that drive. And I'm now having a conversation with him on the floor. And he had since passed away. So I felt like his spirit was like, come on, keep going, don't quit. Don't quit. And I'm like, Mr. Burbage, I've tried everything. I've tried everything. And I mean everything. The weirdest type of therapies you could think of. Hanging upside down, that's not even the weirdest one. Weird electronic machines. And I don't mean just TENS units, like something called a Papini, like stuff that would just...
They Botoxed your back?
Botox my back. I've done hypnotherapy, hydrotherapy, prolotherapy, every kind of therapy you can think of, did it. He's now talking to me, and I remembered something he said. He used to work us out like to exhaustion. I grew up in Malibu, California, and that's where the karate classes were. And we'd lay on our backs after class, he'd dim the lights, he'd walk around, and he would say, there's a very powerful, beautiful energy inside you. You just need to learn how to tap into it. I can't tell you how many times he did that. And I don't even know why. We just always like, yeah, there's a powerful energy inside us. We got to tap into the energy. And I thought that was the fighting spirit. But that wasn't the seed that he was planting. There's an energy, a beautiful, powerful energy inside you.
A mystical energy.
Mystical energy. And I'm like, now I'm yelling at him. I don't know how. You didn't teach me how to tap into this energy. And so I made a deal with the divine that night. I said, now, okay, I got to go bigger. I got to surrender to something bigger. If you can show me, if you can teach me how to get out of this pain, this suffering, I'll dedicate the rest of my life. And she didn't know she was going to be part of that, but now she is. We'll dedicate the rest of our lives to helping people get out of physical and emotional pain. And that was the night that something switched because my identity started to shift. It stopped being about me as the victim, me as the burden, me as the broken guy. That now I was actually going to do something to help others. I was actually going to use it, and I was going to take feeling broken, and I'll turn it into a breakthrough, and then we turned it into a business. And it was like 2 weeks later that I found myself in a Qigong workshop, which I thought was super woo-woo. And I took the whole thing on the ground. And I thought the Qi stuff, like putting this out there in the world, for the longest time, I was like very resistant.
Qi is energy. Sometimes you see it spelled C-H-I and sometimes Q-I. If you're wondering, what is he saying, this Qi's energy?
Qis, prana, life force, pneuma, energy. Energy. And you can feel it, man. You can feel it between your hands. You can feel it thrown through your body. You got these rivers, these reservoirs, these energy pools. Like, it's for real. And I took the workshop on the ground from a dude visiting from China. Awesome teacher. And I felt the Qi in my hands. I'm like, okay, I was wrong. There's something here. Maybe this mystical energy, because you can't see it. You can't point a finger at it. Where is it? The only time you can ever sometimes see it is some of these really amazing martial artists can do cool stuff with their Qi. Like, they can move things, they can bend stuff that normally shouldn't be bent, they can punch through bricks, they can put spears on their body.
Well, what about women who lift cars to save their children?
Thank you. That's a very practical example. Where does that energy come from? That's Qi. And every human has an untapped reservoir of Qi inside. And so I learned how to tap into it. And guess what? It healed my body. I felt the Qi shoot down through my spine where the injury was, remember my leg, I told you guys that the energy, like I had pain down my leg. Well, my leg had become numb. I couldn't even feel the bottom of my foot. That's why I could only stand up for a couple minutes. And now that I was doing Qigong and moving this new way, and you work on something called your fascia, I could stand up for longer. And the day that my healing happened, I had been able to stand up for almost 90 minutes. It took a long time back then to get the results. It's much faster now. But I had been laying down after the practice, and this is super mystical. And I was feeling energy pouring from the top of my head through my body like golden light. And it shot down through my body into the surgery area and down my leg. My leg, I could feel it again, and my foot started to tingle. And now I'm crying, like, because I had unlocked the pain that had been there for so long with this mystical movements.
Unblocked and unlocked what was keeping healing from being able to happen. And I think kind of looking back on it now, so we've been talking lately about how the word Qigong has become very normal, like the word yoga is normal. That you don't know, are people saying Qigong, go pray, Qigong, go, it's something Eastern, Qigong, a workout, like what are they saying?
Right.
What do they mean by that? And so I think that one of the beautiful things that happened, and the reason we're so blessed and thankful for the way that it unfolded in our lives, is that from our background as instructors of personal training, running fitness franchises, owning martial arts studios and dance studios, we had this tremendous background in athleticism, bones, muscles, joints, fascia, stretching, circulation, right? So there was this huge educational component that we were able to bring to the table. We had met in meditation classes for 10 years before that. We tried to calculate how many hours we had in like sitting meditation. It was like over 20,000 hours each. So we had this deep connection and openness to mystical, as far as a spiritual connection to all that is and oneness and the divine, so that when Tristan started learning to incorporate the body and this wholeness of the avatars of the body and the heart and the mind being aligned to spirit, the healing was so quick. And then right around that time, diving into the law of attraction and manifestation and understanding books like Think and Grow Rich, that your thoughts become things, that you are creating your future self now. And so I think if we like fast forward a couple of decades from the story that you just heard, we're really kind of describing Satori Qigong, or this, which is different because of the components we bring to it. And I think that class you went to, we say there's 4 domains, would fall more under like medical Qigong. It was more slow and had a little bit of another domain that we talk about, which is mobility.
It had a little bit of both of those.
And you brought so much of the mystical because of your connection and meditation and your understanding of manifestation. Do you want to talk about?
I do.
Do you want?
Yeah,
do you want to
talk about it?
I'm so
I just
surprised.
want you guys to know that in the chat, we see you there. I see you, Matterell. I see you, Bonnie. I see you, Jojo. Hi, guys. All the cool kids are here. So yes, Qigong is a vast, vast, vast system. It's the grandfather of energy work. Tai Chi falls under it. Reiki falls under it. If you've heard of EFT tapping, all these things fall under this grand umbrella of energy arts.
It's not, you can't say it's a workout, and it is absolutely not a religion or anything like that.
No.
And I think that's why it's difficult for people to understand
But I'm
what
going
it
to
is.
explain it.
Okay.
So if you go back like thousands of years, you're going to find that there were men and women that were natural scientists. They were movement artists. They were in tune with nature. They were looking at the flow of the rhythm of the tides, of how the water would flow, right? They were looking for the path of least resistance. They would look to the sun, the stars, the moon, the sky, and they would call them these celestial bodies that you could draw energy from, the planet itself. So they were very in tune and in harmony with nature, and they started mimicking the movements of animals and of nature, and they started to create these dances. They were like shamans, and they would chant, and they would sing, and they were really cool, amazing human beings that were super tapped into nature.
And I think as well as the tangible nature, the forces of nature, the forces of the ocean, of the tide, of the wind, of gravity, understanding not, as I think some people think that it's just mimicking animals, but it's
Well, let's go over
forces.
them again. So there's the sun, the stars, the sky, the moon, the earth, all of nature, the flow of the planetary flow, water, tides, the movement of animals, gravity. So you start to look and learn from the way that there's balance and flow in this physical world. And so they articulated it as the masculine and the feminine. They actually created this beautiful symbol as a construct for us to understand contrast, balance, harmony in life. And that the goal is to bring your yin energy, that more feminine, and that yang, the more masculine, into coherence, into balance. And that is the journey of these arts, is to create that. And it will birth health. It will birth greater vitality. It will create healing. It does lead into these mystical experiences and ways of using energy to manifest. In Qigong, there's two words that are really important. Well, three actually, but we'll start with the first one, Wu Wei. Wu Wei is effortless action. So they were seeking flow with life. You've heard of flow state, I'm sure, where the athletes and artists get into the zone. Well, they were living in flow. And flow, actually flow state, is the study of happiness. These beings were very lit. They were happy. They were joyful. They were in tune. So they had more of a mystical experience as an outcome of their practice. And that's why when you look at some of the ancient Qigong, which was originally known as Dao Yin, it was the study of the Dao, the way of flow and harmony. And these masters were tapped in. Like we've all heard the term Zen master, right? You can see someone just centered and present. Well, they were doing not just sitting meditation, they were doing moving meditations, flowing, because they were modeling nature.
And embodying the experience. That makes all the difference, right? You can sit and pray or meditate and have certain thoughts, and then you get up and move into life, and it's like, what happened? It's because it's
so they were taking that mystical experience that the Zen masters love, and they were taking the movements of nature and they're combining them. That's why this presentation and this cool workshop we have coming up is called the Mystical Movements of Qigong. So it's the marriage of both. And many of the great teachers of Qigong will tell you the ultimate goal is to bring you into these mystical experiences, into this sense of oneness. This symbol comes from something known as the Wu Ji. Wu Ji is like before manifestation, it's a circle. The Enso Zen masters draw this circle, the Enso. It means that you have come back into oneness with Source itself. Think of yoga, for example. The word yoga means union with Source. But how do you get that union with yoga? Through postures, poses, known as asanas. Why? Because inside your body, there's prana, aka life force, chi, that can flow, but it gets disrupted. It gets stagnant, it gets blocked, it gets skewed, and it causes dissonance and disruption in the physical body. So these mystical movements were designed to create the flowing, beautiful container within your body of energy to flow, and it would return you, it would calibrate your yin and yang energy so you were tapped into the mystical.
And what were we were sharing in an event last weekend that really helped people, like returning to factory settings.
Yeah,
that perfection of the divine. And I don't know if you heard Tristan just sort of was it called foreshadowing?
I open looped everything.
He open looped it. We are doing a totally free workshop for our community. It's a 3-hour, one-time only workshop, no replays, and it is Mystical Movements for Healing and Manifestation. So if you go to that link, satorymethod.com/workshop, you can register to get a spot. We would love to have you attend. And what's really cool about it is we're not just going to teach the 4 domains about all the mobility and the fascia freeing and the medical and the healing and the mystical and the manifestation, but we're actually going to have little mini workshops and exercises and experiences so that you understand the difference and you understand the whole like Satori Chi activation system and how it all fits together. That's why it's going to take 3 hours, because we're going to go really deep.
Well, let's overview that in case you guys didn't catch it. So from the studies that we've done over the last 20 years, looking at all the different styles of Qigong, and we don't know them all because there's hundreds upon hundreds of them. This thing is like over 4,000 or 5,000 years old. So there's many styles, but there's core systems of Qigong. So one core system we would call mobility Qigong. It comes from the martial artists They were doing movements to create strength, vitality, power. Think of Shaolin monks, iron shirt Qigong, striking the body, like doing really amazing, like push-ups on one foot, like all this cool stuff. We've extracted from that domain the parts that we think our audience and most humans are looking for, which is increased mobility, getting pain out of the joints, pain out of the muscles, mobility Qigong. So that's the first domain. The next one is known as medical Qigong.
That's where I just want to say with that first one, so many people feel physical relief so quickly.
So quickly.
And I think that section that we do before the other domains is really what's different about our system, because it opens us up and it opens up the fascia. And I think
Let's talk about that.
Okay, let's do.
Because the next domain, which is medical, and we'll talk about the purpose of that, but you're going to see your slower, more flowy type Qigong that's designed for healing the body. Not that mobility doesn't heal,
too, right?
but it's more internal. It's more like a lot of people who are going through therapies, or they've had a cancer treatment, or they're having trouble with autoimmune or high blood pressure. They're going to lean towards the medical Qigong, which is beautiful.
They're really wanting to alleviate so much stress, anxiety. They want to sleep better. They want to stay asleep longer. They want better quality sleep. Maybe they're having issues with their digestive system, or they're overly reactive and overly moody, not able to move through grief. That's a lot. I think the medical Qigong really helps with all of that.
And there's a little bit of overlapping of all of them. So I said that about medical to set you up to understand more about the mobility. Mobility addresses the fascia. So fascia is that beautiful connective tissue that lies under the skin that connects the whole body, and it surrounds your muscles and goes through your muscles. It's around your organs, tendons, ligaments, your whole body's. And when the fascia gets tight and dehydrated, it actually pinches off the energy flow. The meridian pathways, which the ancients have mapped out on your body, there's a whole system of medical healing, which is known as acupuncture. They have identified these little meridian pathways within the body. Well, the fascia pinches it off. So Qigong is designed, the mobility part is very physical. It opens it. There's twisting, squeezing, lengthening, rotating movements, which allows you to feel more when you do the medical Qigong, because the pathways are more open. Okay, so we've got 1 and 2. The third one is the mystical. That's where you're now going into these states of flow. We talked about flow, of being very tuned in to this incredible life force energy.
I would describe it as, you know, it always makes me giggle when people, and it's cute, but it's like God whispers. And I'm like, why does God have to whisper? Because sometimes God can speak very loud. And in the mystical experiences, I feel so much clarity in the mystical domain. I feel like that connection to the essence of beautiful prayer and community and communing with the inner being and the spirit. But this awakening, this knowledge, this knowing, the confidence in the gut feeling, the assuredness of the intuition, where it just feels so solid and so beautiful and so serene and so all-knowing. Very, very beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing when you work with the Qigong in the mystical domain. You start working with the energy centers. So in mobility, you're working with the fascia through the limbs and the torso, and you're opening the channels. When you move into the medical, you're using your mind a lot to work with the energy that's inside your body and around. You're absorbing more in. Remember, we were talking about like the sun, the stars, the moon, the earth, the food, the water, people, places, like all this energy. You start to draw it in to the tissue to heal your organs, to draw it into your bones. There's something known as bone marrow washing to strengthen your bones and stimulate your stem cells so that you can heal faster. And as that energy comes in, you start to look at these 3 energy brains, one in your belly, one in your heart, and one in your head. And when you start to align those energy brains and actually get to do some work, each one has like an identity of its own, and you work with healing it, they come into alignment. And that's what unlocks what you were talking about, the knowing. And this mystical Qigong is about aligning those energy brains. Boom. And now you have access to this source information. It's very hard to have access to the divine when your energy centers and energy pathways are out of alignment. Now, the one that is underneath all of them, and I think it's kind of unique, at least to the way we teach, is we're aggregators. We brought these four together and made it clear for people to understand like how you can play with Qigong, is the manifestation domain. So now we're talking about something, I said there were three words I was going to talk about. So the first one that I shared with you was Wu Wei, which means effortless action. Well, this really shows up in the manifestation domain because you start to be able to create as a conscious creator with much less effort. People will call it living in the fifth dimension. In order to do that, though, you need Yi, Y-I, Yi. Yi is a type of power. Yi means intent or mind intent. And it's your ability to take your focus, because the mind focuses energy towards targets or into things. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. We have all heard that. So Yi power is the ability to be so focused, because you're a meditator from these arts. You focus your mind and you focus it towards what you love. And you learn how to open this energy center, which is the heart, which is an amplifier of that Yi. That energy gets amplified and then the mind focuses it. You are really, manifestations happen very quickly when you're living in this Wu Wei type state.
We were saying last weekend at a workshop that your focus, that intentional focus is like your soul's honing device on what you want more of. What do you want to feel more of? Because the identity, your personal identity, so many of us when let's say we're not feeling great, we're focused on how we're not feeling great. And so there's a little bit more of a victim identity or a helpless identity. But as you go through these four domains, which are all very simple to do, you don't need any experience to attend the workshop that we're teaching. It's totally doable, all levels and all ages. As you go through that, and the identity is upgrading, you actually start thinking different thoughts because you're feeling different feelings. So when you are feeling better, you actually think better. And that's, to me, where that manifestation really comes in, because you're more clear on your desires. You're more clear on when you take care of yourself, you then have the energy to take care of others. When you take care of yourself, then you can share more love with others. That one of the greatest things that we can do is to take care of ourselves. We will read to you studies that have shown that up to 7 years of a lifespan, more of a lifespan for those who take care of their vitality
I think it's
and their
much
energy.
more than that, personally.
Yeah, and it isn't just about living longer. It's about feeling good along the way. So this workshop will knock your socks off, but a lot of you won't even wear socks to the workshop, so they'll already be off. So it's
going to light you up.
It's on a Sunday midday. We chose a time that would work for the U.S. and the U.K. We would love to have you. You can share this with your friends. We'll be on Zoom. There'll be a great group of us. We can do some Q&A. So it'll be tons of fun. Show up wearing some clothes that you're comfortable moving in, because yes, there will be a lot of education so that you understand what we're doing, but we will be getting up and having experiences. So try to be in a place where you can just back away from your device and still see it and follow along.
The third and last word that we'll share with you is Neigong. So Neigong means inner skill. Think of Neigong as internal Qigong. So far we've used this word Qigong. Qi, energy, gong, work, some say play, energy, play. Playing with the Qi to heal your physical body using mobility Qigong. Drawing the Qi inside for the medical Qigong requires Neigong. Neigong is your ability to go inside and calm your mind first, get rid of anxiety, get rid of that worrier, that ruminating, nonstop brain. Settle the brain down, calm the nervous system, get regulated, and then start to absorb the energy. And there is a real palpable energy that you can feel, especially if you get the mobility Qigong working first.
Yes.
So we have a sequencing that we'll be teaching at the workshop. You draw the energy in with Neigong. You need to know where to send it. And there are specific, not only places, but order of how to do it. and this is actually important. There are some, and we've seen weird stuff, people who teach energy work, and they teach things out of sequence or out of order, or the intent behind what they're teaching people actually really screws people up. I don't mean to scare you, but I do need to, as a
they don't get the results.
non-negligence, because they either won't get the results, they won't feel it, they think it's just stupid, or they hurt people. So we will teach you in the right way, in the right order, with the right intent, how to work with Qigong. And I love that about this system. There are thousands of people that do Satori Qigong. Thousands. And we have instructors all over the world now that teach this art, and we want to show you how it works at the event, totally free. You're going to have a blast. You get to meet some awesome human beings. We always have a big party, and the two of us together, I don't know, you never know what's going to come through, but
we never know.
Pretty goofy. And you're gonna learn a lot.
So there's the link. Remember, it's going to be on Zoom. Some people think you have to install something, but you don't. You can just click and attend. It would be great if you have a camera and a mic, but if you don't, it's okay. That's okay too. I think that's it. It's 3 hours. Set aside 3 hours. Yes, we will take some breaks, so don't worry. This is a live virtual event. No replays. So mark it on your calendar.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. This has been another episode of the Tristan Show. Until next time, much love.